and welcome to our program Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the suffering church around the world. Usually, we talk about a geographical region where the church suffers, but today we're going to talk about a field, the field of the family, where unfortunately sometimes God weeps as well. And to learn more about the situation of the family, it is my privilege to welcome Father Charles Tabone. Father, welcome to our program.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
Father, is God weeping about the family?
Hopefully not, because I feel that the family is so important for each and every society that if God weeps, it means that it is in a crisis. And I really hope that it's not in a crisis. However, it's facing various challenges, and we need to equip the family. When we say need, both society with its instruments, with its organizations, and the church, we need to equip the family to face these challenges. If not, then we are going to weep. It would mean that it will be in a crisis.
I was going to ask you that. Why do you differentiate between crisis and challenges when a challenge becomes a crisis?
It's very interesting, yeah. I was expecting such a question. A crisis is when we do not know what we are going to do in a situation. That is a crisis. Let's take as an example. When a couple is in crisis, they face a situation like not getting on or very well together because something has happened in their life, and they do not know what they are going to do. That's a crisis. If they are facing challenges, for example, they are working and they need to balance their work and their family life, but they are taking it on board how to do it, they are discussing it, they are attempting, they are trying various ways of doing it, that would be a challenge. It would be a crisis.
Father, you wrote your dissertation about this topic, and you were talking in the 80s about the secularization of the family. What does that mean? What did you imply with that? That before the 80s and before these modern times, it wasn't as secular as it is now?
Yes, I was focusing on Malta because you cannot do a study without a context.
Of course.
You need to contextualize your study. I was studying the Maltese family and what the Maltese family has passed through. We have to keep in mind what is Malta, or what Malta used to be. Malta is traditionally a Catholic country. We are very proud, and I think that we all still feel proud that we have been converted to Christianity by St. Paul. So we are a very Catholic country. And the church had an influence on the Maltese society at large, not simply on the family, but on the Maltese society at large, to the extent that the value system of the Maltese society was that promoted by the Catholic Church based on the evangelical values. The change that has been brought up was that in our society now, we don't have one value system. We have various value systems because we are living in a pluralistic society. And therefore, people are free to choose the values and the value systems they like. Since society is pluralistic, there is the possibility of choice. We speak about secular society. Therefore, the Christian value system has to share its place with other value system, and that is secularization.
So
if this Christian value system is lost completely, that wouldn't be a secular society, it would be a secularist society. I am drawing the distinction between secularization and secularism. Secularization means that the Christian values are present among other values that are not necessarily Christians, and people can still choose the Christian values and live by the Christian values, and they are accepted in the society where they live. We speak about tolerance. I'm using another term which is stronger than tolerance: acceptance. You're accepted, choosing the value system you like. If you are not accepted for choosing the Christian value system, therefore that would be a secularist society, not a secular society.
you are very familiar with work in media. You yourself in charge of the Department of Communications of the Archdiocese of Malta. So you know that words become key in the discourse of ideologies.
Yes.
What I'm trying to point out is that you mentioned two very good words, which is choice and tolerance. But unfortunately, in the Western culture, these two words in particular have been used to justify a series of family models, what they're called now the alternative families, and they are under this umbrella of tolerance, of choice.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate that?
Once there are different types of families, they are part of the reality, and they need to be accepted, not simply tolerated, but accepted and enhanced. They need to be also supported by both governments and the church. For example, we now call it the traditional model, that family is based on marriage and consists of husband and wife, of children born out of within the union. Well, that's not the only type of family that we encounter in society today. Therefore, I think you were referring to these different types of families. I am drawing again a distinction between type and model. A type should not necessarily be a model. So we can be in a position to accept different types of families because they are part of our reality. We cannot ignore it, and we'll be doing an injustice to ignore them. But we present a model, and as a Catholic Church, there is no other model to present than that of a family based on marriage, which would be the Christian marriage, the sacrament, and having children within the union and bringing them up in faith. This is the model that the Church has to promote, because it believes in this model, because it has its foundation in the Bible, in our faith, and in the values of the gospel. But while presenting and promoting this model, the same Catholic Church cannot not accept the other types of family, and it has to work pastorally with the different types of families that are present in reality today.
Yes, it's not the same to talk about types and models. However, we have to face this reality of the new challenges of, for instance, families of same-sex partners.
Yes.
You know, to men, to women, and raising children, adopting children. That's a type of family.
That's a type of family, and that's a reality.
What should be our attitude towards them?
I think that we need to remember that they are children of God, and they are loved by God. And we need, as a church, to make them feel that they are included, that they are part of the community as they are. Notwithstanding that they are not directly aligned with the model that the church believes in and promotes. However, and this is a very important value, the church, from its very nature, is inclusive. Jesus himself says that he would like that there will be one shepherd and one sheepfold. Therefore, everyone should be part of this sheepfold under this one shepherd, which is Jesus Christ. Even same-sex families raising children, they should be part of the church, included in the church, loved and supported. Though their way of living as a family is not a model, and the church should never promote it, present it and promote it as a model. But once they are real, it's a reality, we cannot just ignore them and put them away. We have to include them and make them feel that they are part of the community. We remember, I have brought the example of the shepherd. I remind also, I recall that part of the gospel that says that the good shepherd would leave the 99 in the desert to go and look for the lost sheep. I'm not saying that they are lost sheep, but I'm saying that we need to include them and they need to feel included.
Father, at the beginning of the program, you were mentioning context, and I'm going to take, if you allow me, the context of Malta.
Yes.
The latest statistics put around 95% Catholics declared themselves Catholics, which is extremely high.
It's extremely high.
And nevertheless, recently, as in 2011, you had two important referendums. Well, one referendum and the other one was, I think it was more a legislation. Well, one referring to the to divorce.
Divorce referendum, yes.
And the other one precisely about this, I don't know what is the terminology in Malta, but would be the domestic partnership.
Civil union, we are calling it in
okay.
Malta. Civil union of homosexual couples.
Yes. So what do we see here, Father? At this joint living of the faith, meaning I profess something, but then I vote something different?
Well, we need to make clear that though 95% would declare themselves as believers, I wouldn't say that they would declare themselves as Catholics. They would declare themselves as believers. However, less than 50% are practicing Catholics, unfortunately now.
What do you mean by practicing?
Going to Mass at least once a week.
Okay.
At least going to Mass once a week. Therefore, less than 50% are practicing Catholics, though they might consider themselves as being Catholics. And this already explains why people then tend to vote in favor of divorce, though they say that they are Catholics. Even when we did an opinion poll, it was conducted by the Catholic Church, commissioned by the Catholic Church, about same-sex unions. The same results, we had the same results, that around 50% of our people agree with same-sex unions. And that's why I'm insisting on the reality. And what people want to see is that the church is understanding. If we give the impression that the church is strict on its rules, without being able to be flexible, to embrace each and everyone, that would not make a church understanding. This would put people away from the church, because it wouldn't be a loving community, an embracing community. And I think that this is the challenge that we have in Malta today. People of a certain age are used to a church that dictates, and they just follow what it says, claiming that they are sure that the church says what is good for them. Therefore, we obey and follow the church. That was a type of society, as I have explained. It was not secular, that society. It was sacral. This has changed. Therefore, if the church today wants to be accepted, it needs to make itself understood and show, it needs to show that it is understanding. Okay? And that's why I'm saying, and I'm insisting, that the church needs to embrace everyone, not simply give the impression that is accepting everyone, but really embracing everyone and loving everyone. Because to save you, I need to accept you as you are first and love you. That's what Jesus has taught us. For example, I recall the episode of Zacchaeus. Jesus invited himself to go to the house of Zacchaeus. He didn't tell him, well, Zacchaeus, I know that you are a sinner. Everyone knows. I am eager to come to your house. Convert, change, and I will come. No. He accepted him as he was. He invited himself to go to his house. And Zacchaeus, seeing the embracing arms of Jesus and the open heart of Jesus and his love, accepting him as he was, notwithstanding the rumors made by the people around him, he changed his life, he converted. And that's the new pastoral way that I feel that the church needs to adopt, especially in a secular society, having various types, various value systems, giving various meanings, various way of understanding the reality. Okay? It's very important that the church shows everyone that I am a loving community and all-embracing community. I first love you, and then you see the need to change, and I won't impose it upon you. If you want to change because you see that it's for your own good, you'll change, we'll help you, we'll support you.
That's the work of the grace of God, precisely. Father, I can't avoid mentioning our dear Saint John Paul II.
Sure.
That in the same day of canonization, Pope Francis called him the Pope of the family. And we all remember him calling the family the domestic church.
Yes.
What do you, let's say, recommend to good, consistent Catholic family? What do you recommend to strengthen that Christian life, that those convictions, those values?
I think that the traditional proverb, the family that prays together, stays together, still holds. The family needs to be a family in prayer, and that would make it a domestic church. The church that gathers and pray, and where there is union among believers, there is the presence of Jesus Christ. If there are two or three gathered in my name, there I will be in their midst. And I recommend that they go to church together as a family. even when their children are little ones and they might cry in church and shout in church. I feel that they should still bring them to church as a family. And I don't agree with crying rooms, because that will be excluding children and excluding the family. We need to accept the family in our churches as it is, with its children. And children, they sometimes, they don't behave. They are not so good because they are children. They cry, they make noise in church. Well, it doesn't matter. This is the beauty of our community, having little ones in our midst, in their family.
Father, and my last question would be to the audience that watches this program. What would you ask them to support not only the family in Malta, but in the church, in the world? You know, now that we're in this framework of the Synod of the Bishops about the family, what would you ask for us to do?
Yeah, I'll ask them to come out.
Meaning?
Because we have many beautiful Christian families, even with our younger generation, that are concealed. No one knows about them. They are not presenting themselves as a Christian family. They are good families, and I am sure that they are good because they are Christian. They have Christian value at the basis of their union. They should witness to what they are living. That's what I mean, they come out. They shouldn't be afraid to say, we are a Christian family, and we are united, and we're happy, and our children are happy in this family. Why not?
Father Tabone, thank you so much for this inspiring words and this conversation. Thank you very much, Father, for being with us.
My pleasure.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in another program of Where God Weeps. If you want to learn more about the Suffering Church and the families around the world, please don't hesitate contacting the information at the end of this program. Thank you, and God bless.